Welcome back. I am your host, Tracy Hoth, and today I'm kicking off a brand new 4-part series, and I'm calling it The Real Cost of Disorganization. In episode 120, you might want to go back and listen to that first, but I broke it down for you that disorganization is a flat out costing you money. Remember, I try to be really stern and serious. It is keeping you stuck. It's blocking clients. It's wasting your time, but there's another layer. In this series, I want to go deeper. So this series isn't just about giving you the how-to, the tools, the folders, or the Google Drive, or whatever. It's about what disorganization is really costing you emotionally, mentally, financially, and then what's really holding you back from changing it, from doing something. And the truth is, it's always the story. It's always the story. I heard that phrase recently when I don't even know how. It just popped up and I listened to Dawn from The Minimal Mom, and she was interviewing T.K. Coleman, and he said, it's always the story. And it's so true. It's not just the clutter. It's the story we're telling ourselves about the clutter. It's not just the overflowing tabs or the messy desktop, and you know who you are, which is probably most people. It's the meaning we've attached to them. I'm too far behind. I should be able to do this on my own. I don't have the energy. This is just who I am. I work better under pressure. So I sent an email to my email list and asked a simple question. And I said, just hit reply and give me a quick answer. What's holding you back from getting organized? And the responses, oh my gosh, it was so good. They were incredible, raw, vulnerable, honest. And I'm going to share some of those today. Maybe you'll hear yourself. It gives me an excuse not to work on my business. That's what Emily wrote. She admitted what many of us feel, but we don't say it out loud. That staying disorganized can be a protective strategy. And as I read through a lot of these answers that people sent in, that's what it was. It's like, what is that protecting you from? If your office is a mess, you don't have to sit down and write the sales page. If your files are a disaster, you don't have to do your launch. And so we stay stuck. But staying stuck keeps us safe. Keith shared this with, which I thought was really interesting. In my ADHD world, everything goes into one of two buckets, now and not now. And it's amazing how easily things in the now bucket move to the not now bucket. He said disorganization feels like being in an unfulfilling marriage. It's not productive, but it feels like home. That right there, that's the power of the story. We get used to that chaos. We get used to that mess, and it becomes familiar, and then that familiarity feels safe. Lois told me, I feel like I should be able to do this myself. I feel guilty when I can't. And then she added, sometimes I think I'm just lazy, which is condemning. You are not lazy. Let me say it again. You are not lazy. You are believing a story that's keeping you from getting the support, implementing the structure, and the simplicity that would actually change everything. Another listener wrote, I know if I just did this mindset technique on myself, I'd get moving. And then she added, I still haven't done it. Why? Because knowing what to do isn't the same thing as believing it's possible for you. And that's what we're going to do as I go through this series. We're going to explore the stories and what they're costing you, and look at time and energy and confidence, peace, and yes, ultimately, the money, if you have a business, because that's keeping you from making more money. And then I want to also share just how you can begin to change them. So today, as you listen, I want you to ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about why I can't get organized, why I haven't gotten organized? And then where did this story come from? And what if it's just not true? We've been exploring this so much in my Organized Life Academy, just looking at what could be true and then all the stories layered on top of it that are like suffocating the truth. What could be the truth? It's in there. It's just have all these other stories on top of it that are suffocating it, that are keeping it hidden, even from our own selves being able to see it. So I want to help you write a new story, one where you're capable, supported, and equipped to run a profitable and peaceful and organized business and life. Okay, so that was a really long introduction, but stick with me over the next 4 episodes. You'll hear the patterns. You're going to feel seen. You're going to see yourself in these situations or these stories that I tell, and I'll show you the path out of the chaos. And I'll show you how to rewrite that story for yourself, one small doable step at a time. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. Are you ready to work less, feel more organized and productive, streamline repetitive tasks, and implement systems that allow your coaching business to run smoothly even without you? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Organized Coach Podcast, your go-to source for practical tips and solutions. I'm your host, Tracy Hoth, professional organizer, certified life coach, simplifying expert, and most of all, down-to-earth fellow coach just like you. No matter if you think you're missing the organizing gene, have ADHD, or just love anything organizing, I'm here to help you become an organized coach with a business that works for you. Pull up a seat and let's get started. In episode 120, we talked about the cost of disorganization. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it's really costing you and the stories behind the disorganization. In 120, we talked about the reasons, but those reasons have stories behind them. So we're going to look at the stories we believe are the hidden costs of our disorganization and how they're holding us back both in your life and your business. And with each of these 5 stories, I'm going to give a personal example and a business example so that we can relate it to both. If you don't have a business, you can think about like your volunteer situations or a big project that you're working on. It could be sort of the same thing. So you can try to see if it relates for you as well. So I'm going to give examples of both. So the first story is of guilt and shame. And here's what it sounds like. I should be able to do this by myself. I've already bought a course. I should have finished it by now. I feel lazy. All of these carry a moral weight, like you're somehow bad for struggling with clutter or systems. Okay, so is that your story? Is it one of guilt and shame? I think about this too with a client who was saying that she can't get things to her team. Like she's hiding from that. She's trying to cover up what's happening because she's embarrassed by it, because she should have it together. She should have already done this as a business owner. Okay, so a business example could be that you've finally signed a new client and promised a welcome email or an onboarding packet by the next day. Well, it's been 4 days and now you feel so behind that instead of sending it late, you avoid it altogether. And now you're ghosting your new client or you're sending them like, I'll get it to you. Not because you don't care. You really do care. You want it to be good, but because shame makes you hide, you haven't sent her that follow-up. And that might cost you. It might cost you a refund, or worse, it might cost you your reputation. I have another example of this where I had a client whose credit card didn't go through on a payment that she had. And I reached out. I think that the client also gets an email and I get an email. But in that situation, she didn't reply to the email. So then I sent another email and I actually sent a video, I think. I don't know if I sent a video the second or third time, but you know, we have things that happen. We have things either our credit card's overdrafted and then we're embarrassed to say anything because we have that situation. And so it's the shame or the guilt that you feel that keeps you from taking the action. Okay, so a personal example might be that you told yourself you'd clean out the guest room before the holidays. And now it's 2 days before your company arrives. And the guilt is making you procrastinate even more. You think, what is wrong with me? I had time. I just didn't do it. So instead of getting started, it still is just that it keeps you from doing it because you have that shame, that guilt. And the proof is that shame triggers avoidance, not action. And studies show that when we feel guilty about a behavior, we're less likely to change it. We're conscious of it, and we replace the guilt with compassionate accountability. Has that ever happened to you? So shame triggers avoidance, not action. And I love that studies can show us that feeling guilty is less likely to change something. We're less likely. And it's so counterintuitive to what we think. We think if we just beat ourselves up or get mad or be mean to ourselves that we're going to do something, but it's less likely that we do it. A reframe might be, I'm not lazy, I'm human. I should be able to do this, but maybe not. I'm human. I guess the clue there is that anytime you have the word should, you know that it might be not something that is good. But I love adding the human part in it. I'm not lazy, I'm human. I don't have to do this alone. Remember that other example? I bought a course, I should have finished it by now. I love what Brooke Castillo always said. How do you know that you shouldn't have finished it by now? Because you didn't. And whenever we fight against reality, we lose. So by saying that we should have finished it by now, we're fighting against what already actually happened, and we're going to lose that fight every single time. How do you want to reframe the story of guilt and shame? So think about your own business. Where in it are you feeling guilt or shame? What is the story behind it? And how do you want to change that? Seeing that story is the first step. Number 2 is the story of avoidance and excuses. So it might sound like, I'll do it after lunch. It's not that bad. I'll get organized when I have more time. Avoidance is incredibly smart because it protects us from discomfort, decisions, and vulnerability. But it's really costing you the progress of moving forward. And one other thing as I'm going through these is just to ask yourself, what is it protecting me from? The story of avoidance and excuses is protecting you from what might happen if you did do it. And think about that. What could happen? You could be really successful. You could get a client that doesn't get results. You could have to have a hard conversation with somebody, whatever it is. Think about what it's protecting you from. So here's a business example. You're delaying creating a system for client follow-up because it feels like just one more thing. You tell yourself you'll set it up after your current launch, but every week you don't follow up and another potential client slips through the cracks. So there you are, leaving money that is available possibly by waiting for the perfect time and thinking that it has to be this perfect system that you're going to set up. Just having a system. Plain, simple, beginner system, but you don't do it because you're waiting for the perfect time. You'll do it after your launch. Right now, it's really not that bad. I see this in myself. I see that in myself and I think, okay, this is mine, the story of avoidance and excuses. So here's a personal example. There's a giant pile of paper on your kitchen counter. You walk past it every day. You know there's important things in it, maybe even bills and tax forms, but opening it would mean like facing the potential overwhelm or decision. So you keep telling yourself you get to it later, except later, like it's been 6 months. And in that example, like what are you avoiding it for? It's for the fact that you think there might be some decisions in there. There might be some financial things that you think you don't have money for to pay these bills. And so you would just avoid looking at it. So you can totally see this one, I think, is more easy to see the story there, to realize the story and what that story is protecting you from. Again, ask that. Keep asking that example. Neuroscience shows that when we avoid a task, we get short-term relief, which reinforces the avoidance. Your brain learns avoiding this is safety, but long-term, the decision keeps your nervous system in a low-level stress loop because it doesn't go away, right? It's always there. And it's so cool because today, actually, when I'm recording this, I got an email from James Clear. And he says, strangely, life gets harder when you try to make it easier or when you make it easier by default or because of this story. He gave examples like exercising might be hard, but never moving makes life harder. Mastering your craft is hard, but having no skills is harder. Uncomfortable conversations are hard, but avoiding every conflict is harder. So I sent our Organized Life group, I said, decluttering may be hard, but not decluttering is harder. If you look at the long run, you constantly have this silent to-do list yelling at you every time you walk past clutter. Your mind's filled with all that guilt and all that avoidance and all those excuses every single time. That is actually way harder than making a decision, than decluttering, than scheduling some time in. But like Keith said, it's the comfort. You're used to it. So in the moment, it seems easier. And there's the reframe of that. The avoidance is comfort now, but chaos later. I choose clarity even in small ways. So if we go back to our excuses, it's not that bad. You can even think of that James Clear part. I would say it's not that bad, but if I don't take action, it'll be badder. It'll be worse later. It's not that bad. I'll get organized when I have more time. When I wait, it gets harder. So let me learn to do one thing right now. What is your story there? What is your story in the story of avoidance and excuses? What's yours? And when I say story, I'm like, you just can find one sentence in that. I think about food. For me, it's always like, oh, this one bite won't matter. I always say that. Oh, this one bite, this little bit, this one time, it won't matter. But when you look at that example, yes, it's harder if I take this one bite. In the moment, though, it feels so easy. So same with your decluttering, your digital files. Like in the moment, not naming this file, not making a home for it, that is easier. But in the long run, it's so much harder in the long run. Okay, the third one is the story of overwhelm and ADHD. And it sounds like this. I don't even know where to start. My brain needs constant stimulation. I'm always doing something, but nothing gets finished. This story is about your bandwidth. It's about how your mind works and feeling like you have systems that don't work for you. So here's a business example. You bought a course, let's say on funnel strategy, and you watched half the first video and then got distracted. Now your login is buried in your inbox and you think, why bother starting again? But every week that you don't build your funnel, you're stuck doing everything manually or burning out or not doing a launch. You're capping your income by not doing that. So not having that structure in place, whenever you buy something, purchase a course, I teach clients to put a folder on their bookmarks bar, put the login link, put the document where they're taking notes. All of those things are linked in the folder so they can find it immediately. Then in our business dashboard, on the courses or education tab, you're going to have the list of the course, when you bought it, the login link, the password. First thing you do every time you buy a course or join a program. And then you never have that excuse. You always know that you're taking care of your brain, even if it works differently, even if you get distracted easily, even if it gets overwhelmed. So your story of overwhelm and ADHD then becomes, I know exactly where to find this. My brain is brilliant and it needs a custom system that matches how I work best. I'm going to give it a custom system that matches how I work because my brain is brilliant. I love that so much. I know exactly where to start because my brain is brilliant. Ugh. And I take care of it. I get the help it needs. I put the structures in place. Number 4, the story of loss and life transitions. Here's what it might sound like. I have already done so much. Why keep going? That season of life is over and I'm tired. I can't face the memories or decisions tied to this stuff. In this story, it's really tender. It's about identity or aging or grief or seasons that have changed and the objects around you are not catching up. So here's a business example. You used to run a mastermind that no longer lights you up, but the folder still lives in your Google Drive, cluttered with notes and invoices, slides, whatever. You avoid making new offers because mentally you're still holding on to the old one and it's taking up that space, not just in your drive, but in your vision for what's next. So it's that story of loss and life's transitions. The personal example, you have a garage full of items from your late spouse, or let's say your parents. A lot of people inherit things and get things and they get stored in their garage or in a room, wherever it is. You want to let go of some, but it feels like a betrayal. So when instead, you just close the door and tell yourself you'll deal with it someday. We often attach meaning and memory to our things. And so you think about that just with the folder of your old offer that you had, or that desk that your grandpa made. And letting go often feels like letting go of identity or relationships. And I've done so many episodes like kind of on identity. What's your identity? But always remember that clutter, clutter is just delayed decisions. So I don't mean that clutter's junk. Clutter is just delayed decisions. It could be the most beautiful, expensive thing, but it's clutter if you haven't made a decision on it. So clutter isn't proof of the memory or of the love or the experience that you had. That's all in your mind. That clutter, the thing, is just something that you look at that reminds you of what is. So if you want to reframe it, you can think something like, I can keep what honors my past and release what anchors me to pain. My peace matters too. I kind of like the anchors me to pain. And that might be a good question to ask. Does this anchor me to pain? Does this anchor me to the past, even if it's not pain? Like, does it anchor me to the past, or does it bring me peace? Another one I think of that maybe would fit in this category is that you are tired. You don't have the energy. And underlying that, then I think about the story behind that decluttering takes a lot of energy, that it's draining. But what if that's not true? And that goes back to the James Clear thing. Now that I think about it, I'm like, okay, decluttering, you have in your mind that it's draining. It takes a lot of energy, but not decluttering is draining and takes more energy. So what if you thought that decluttering was energizing, that getting organized is energizing? That would just make you look at it in a whole new light, kind of almost get excited about it. You're probably sitting there going, Tracy, what are you even talking about? Okay, number 5, the last one, the story of I've tried before and failed. And here's what it sounds like. I always start strong and then I drop off. I already bought the course and didn't finish it. What's the point? I'll probably mess it up again. Ooh, that's a good one with why get organized? It'll just get messed up again. I've tried getting organized and it just gets messed up again. Or my family messes up if you're thinking about your home. This story makes you doubt your own follow through. So this one's more about disqualifying yourself from trying again. It's more about the story of you personally, you don't follow through. A business example. Let's say you've invested in a certain software. I don't know, ClickUp, Notion, whatever software, whatever app that you've invested in. And you spent lots of time trying to learn it. But now, like, you don't even look at it, you don't open it, and oh, this is me, because I love thinking that something outside of me is going to help me get organized. Something's better. You know, we have all these shiny objects, all this distraction, everything looks so good. And then you revert back to scribbling on a Post-it note and then feeling like a fraud when you talk to your clients about consistency. And that old belief whispers, see, you always fall off. This is so good. I think probably all of us can relate to this in some way. And I just read something about consistency. We are consistent. We might not be consistent in the thing that we want to be consistent in, but we're all consistent. This person in this example is consistent at putting things on Post-it notes. Super consistent. Okay, a personal example. You decluttered your kitchen last summer and it felt amazing for about 2 weeks. Now the counters are cluttered again and you think, why bother? You assume your success was just a fluke and that you're destined to keep going backward. Behavioral psychology shows that shame about inconsistency reduces motivation more than failure itself. The fact that you decluttered your kitchen, let's keep focusing on that. Now that you've decluttered it, it's going to be 100 times easier to put all the stuff that's cluttering it up again back to its home. You're better and better. It's like peeling the onion. You got one layer off or 4 layers off, and now you're on the next layer. It's built up. So there's just some habits there you need to tweak, that you need to put in place to help it not build up to that point. But getting back to where it was is going to be so much easier. Same with your software that you purchased. You already started. You already know if it's working and you want to keep moving forward. Your habit of writing on Post-it notes, just go back to it. You're going to be able to get back to it faster. But that comes when you stop the story of, I'll probably mess it up again. I don't finish things. We did some coaching in Organized Life Academy. She believed she didn't finish things. And what we realized is so cool. It's so cool being a coach and you just see someone get it. Even when I'm coached, I see, oh my gosh, that's what's happening. And the story was that she wasn't a finisher. She didn't finish things. We realized the only problem is that she scheduled when she was going to start something and she just never scheduled when she was going to finish it. As soon as she scheduled when she was going to finish it, she finished. And she's a finisher. So we realized, oh, that's what's missing. It's just putting it on the appointment or putting on your calendar when you're going to finish that thing. And when you schedule starting and schedule finishing, you're a finisher. It was so fun to see that. And resuming after you fall off, like you stop doing something, but you realize it's not really about the perfection of doing it perfectly. It's just about keep going back to it. And that actually builds confidence faster than any perfect streak. So just realize that too. And I have clients that are coaching with me to get organized, to get their business or their life organized. And it's not that it matters they didn't do anything the week before. We get back on the computer, we get back to pull their files up, we start sorting those again. They get in the rhythm of it, they remember what they're doing, and they just keep going. And even if that takes 4 weeks, that is better than stopping and saying you don't do it. It's never going to work. And you might think that, totally fine. Think that we're going to come together. We're going to keep going. We're going to get back to where we were. And that builds the confidence faster than being perfect at it or doing something super consistently, doing all the right things consistently. Okay, so trying again means I'm growing. Let's see the gain right there. You're growing. You're trying. You came back to it. Consistency is built through restarting, not perfection. I love that one. What is the biggest barrier to get organized? It isn't your lack of time. It's not your low energy. It's not the tools that you don't have, but it's the story that you're telling yourself. So today you've heard 5 different types of stories: guilt and shame, avoidance and excuses, overwhelm and ADHD, loss or transition, and I've failed before. Which one do you most relate to? Each one of those is totally understandable. They're valid. And each one of those has something that it's protecting you from. But none of them are the end of the story. You can change the story. You can write a new one. You can choose differently. And if you want help with doing that, I'm here for you. We can talk about what that support looks like, whether it's an Organized Coach Academy, Organized Life Academy, or working privately on it together. Let's have a chat about it. Take that first step. All you have to do is book an appointment, simplysquaredaway.com/appointments. And you and I can talk one-on-one, and I'll help you figure out exactly what's needed. We'll do an organizational audit, and then I'll recommend what I think it would be best for you. No pressure. You get to decide. But if you want to book that appointment, you can go to simplysquaredaway.com/appointments. Okay, next week, we're going to dive into part 2 of this series. Have an amazing week. Wait, if you're finding this podcast useful, you must check out the Organized Coach Academy. It's my course where I walk you through every step to get your business organized, to get yourself organized, to save money and time, to prepare to hire someone, to do all the things that you want to do in your business with ease. Check that out at simplysquaredaway.com/OCA. Also, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but I would love it. It's my way of knowing that you're enjoying the podcast if you leave a written review. I have lots of freebies for you. They're linked in the show notes. You can find them in my bio on Instagram at Tracy Hoth. And until next week, have a beautiful day.